Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is so good to have this call with you. I do apologize for the technical issues, but I think we've gotten them sorted out. My name is Andy Hart. I am honored and excited to be here at Wilson College. I've been here for 3 weeks. Of course, we've had a couple of snow issues here at the college. What I want to do before the questions is I just want to tell you a little bit about myself, talk about why Wilson, the roles and vision that I have in the chaplain's office. First of all, I have a very diverse background. I've been in academia, I've been in business, and I've been in ministry. It's been quite an exciting journey and an interesting journey, and I'm glad to be here. One of the things that I did was I taught comparative and American politics at the University of South Carolina. That was the beginning of my work career. I had 8 o'clock comparative and 8 o'clock American on different days. A friend of mine and I would split a gallon of sweet tea at a restaurant called Lizard's Thicket so that we could deliver the lectures, and the students also were a little bit like, oh my gosh, here they're coming in and they're going to give a lot of information. But I really enjoyed that. I then made the decision to go into business. I worked for a computer company. At that time, it was called SCT, Systems and Computer Technology. It was out of Malvern. I was responsible for all of Eastern Canada. I had the very small territory of Ontario to Newfoundland. One of the things I was very excited to see, among many things, here at Wilson is when I logged on to the computer and saw their software, their operating software, it was Ellucian. Well, Ellucian is the company that bought SCT about 10 years ago, I believe. So it was so exciting to see and use the software that I had been an account manager for so many years ago. And actually, one of my really good friends was responsible for Pennsylvania when I was responsible for Canada. Then I went into full-time ministry. Basically, the call story is, as I said, I was working for SCT in Canada, and a friend of mine, a youth pastor, said to me, Andy, I think you would really make a good youth and college worker. And I laughed, y'all. I just absolutely laughed. I said, I am such a computer geek. How in the world can you think that I'm going to be a great youth and college helper helping you? And my friend said, yes, you will. And my friend is one that you can't really say no to. So I did. I said, okay, fine, let's do this. In 2 years, we took a youth ministry, high school, middle school, junior high, high school, college, from 30 kids to 300 kids. It was absolutely an amazing time. And I really felt that this is where God was leading me to full-time ministry. And I talked to my friend and I said, I'm really thinking about going to seminary. And my friend said, yeah, I know. I think that's great. So talked to a bunch of people about it and went. I was blessed to go to seminary at Princeton Seminary, which is in Princeton, New Jersey, a Presbyterian seminary, one of several in our country. And when I was in seminary, I really had a struggle with, do I want to go into academia? Do I want to go into full-time chaplaincy because I had worked as a chaplain, or do I want to work as a minister? And made the decision after prayer to actually become a full-time minister. And my first call was in Lancaster, South Carolina, a very different environment than what I was used to. I grew up outside of Philadelphia in cities or suburbs, and this was a rural area. I knew my congregation not by their cars or seeing them in the store. I knew them by their tractors. So it was a very different experience. I felt called away from Lancaster and actually went to Long Island, New York. That's where my dad's from, and enjoyed 5 or 6 years on Long Island serving a church there. And then eventually came to Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, and served a church that's literally up the street. While I was pastoring these different churches, I was also doing chaplaincy. I was doing chaplaincy in a hospital. In the different hospitals, I was doing chaplaincy with the Civil Air Patrol, which is part of the United States Air Force. And I also was doing chaplaincy at the local colleges. Some of the colleges in our towns did not have a chaplain, and there's a lot of reasons for that. So I felt that, and the college agreed that they needed somebody to come in to provide chaplain services. All the churches were Presbyterian, by the way. I also wrote a doctorate on through Columbia Seminary, which is in Decatur, Georgia. And my dissertation was on faith and PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, among veterans. So now I'm here at Wilson College. Personally, I'm married to Dr. Anna Kent. She's down in Fulton County. She's a palliative care doctor as well as a general practitioner. I have 4 children from my first marriage. I have an absolutely crazy Labrador Retriever named Sophie. Everybody, so many people here at Wilson College are like, Andy, you've got to bring Sophie in. You've got to bring Sophie in. And I got to get her trained a little bit more to finally get her here at Wilson. I do love to travel, especially historical sites. My family, I basically have to bribe. If you want to go to, say, Gettysburg, I'll take you out to dinner because I love to read the monuments and study. I love to play basketball and love to read. I'm hoping when the weather gets a little bit warmer that I'll be outside with the students playing some basketball. Let me talk a little bit about why Wilson College. As I said, I've had a love of academia, experience in academia, as well as chaplaincy, and I've struggled with that. I've struggled with, is God leading me to this? And one of the things I discovered after being in Chambersburg for 9 years is when I saw the chaplain position open, there was part of me, part of my being, if you will, that was like, I really should think about applying for this. And there's a lot of reasons why I didn't. But I was honored because when there was switches in chaplains here at Wilson, I would come up and help the college out with the various needs. In 2024, during the summer, the community suffered quite a loss, and that was the biology professor, Dr. Jeff Bardwell, who is in his 40s. He suddenly passed. And I got a call from Catherine Buck, the VP of Student Development, who said, hey, can you come up here and just make yourself available for our students and anybody else who would need to talk to you? And I was pleased to do that. And I began relationships, talking with people at Wilson, and I'm thinking, I really like being here, and prayed about it. Then got another call a little bit later on. It was, hey, would you mind doing the funeral for Dr. Bardwell here at Wilson? And I agreed to it. One of the things in the planning, the discussions that I saw is I saw a community that cares for each other. I saw a community that loves each other. I saw a community that works well together, especially when faced with a tragedy. And I was honored to do that funeral. Afterwards, there was a reception at President Fugate's home, the Sharp House, and I went to that and got to meet people and talk to them and support them. That led me to think, well, this is really where I belong. I love that community and feel called to this community. So I don't like to make snap decisions. I prayed about it. I talked to my family about it, talked to some good friends about it. I also began to do things here at Wilson College. One of the things that I remember having gone through academia was final exams, and final exams are quite a stressful time. So I called Kathy Buck, and I said, hey, how about we do a program called Pretzels and Prayers for final exams? My wife makes chocolate covered pretzels, and she makes about 15 dozen of them around Christmas, so around the holidays. It's just amazing. And I said to my wife, I said, can I take like 100 to Wilson to offer them to the students for final exams and pray with them? And I did. It was an amazing time. It was a time where we prayed together, we laughed, we lowered the anxiety, I think, a little bit, which was good, and gave them some good food. There was more discussions as we went out. I worked and helped with Vespers, and I loved that service. It was such a good introduction to the service. I was honored to read from the Gospel of Luke. And also I heard Andy punch punch, Andy punch punch. What do you think of blessing of the animals? Punch punch. Would you be interested in coming to help us with the blessing of the animals? And I love animals. You know, I have a dog and I used to have fish. I was like, of course, I'd be more than happy to help with the blessing of the animals. Again, the more I thought about it, the more I prayed about it, the more I thought, and I felt God leading me, saying, I need to be here at Wilson College full time. I need to be engaging with y'all. I need to engage with the students, with the faculty and the staff. This is where God's leading me. So I was honored when I started. Well, I was supposed to start on January 6th, and we had a snowstorm, so the campus was closed. So I'm like, well, okay. So I officially was here my first time January 7th. And one of the things I've discovered, it's such a blessing. Um, Wilson College is so friendly. It's so supportive. The students are just awesome. I love talking with the students. I love integrating with the students. I love finding out about them, and the same with the staff and the faculty. It's just been a wonderful several weeks, and I always look forward to things like lunch, or eventually I'll get to working out. So I may need a push from y'all to go work out. But working out in the fitness center just so I can engage with our students and faculty and staff, because I think that's absolutely incredible. With that being said, my vision, what I'm striving for is what, and keep in mind, Civil Air Patrol, I really did a lot of work with airplanes. But my vision is to provide a safe runway, a safe landing spot on a changing runway. To provide a safe landing spot on a changing runway. And I must say, my timing isn't that good considering what happened in Philadelphia as well as Washington, D.C. My family is from Philadelphia, and actually not too far from where that plane went down. What I'm doing right now is I'm figuring out the runway, and I'm building a safe landing spot for our students, staff, and faculty. How am I doing that? Let me talk a little bit about the landing spot. It is imperative in my book that I develop relationships with people. I want to know who they are. I want to know where they're from. I want to know what they're majoring in or what they're teaching. I want to find out what they're interested in and make myself available for conversation and support. One of the things that I'm a little bit worried about, and y'all can pray for this, is I am scared to death, y'all, of horses. I can touch a horse, but if you put me on a horse, I'm going to get really nervous. And we are blessed here at Wilson with such a great horse program. The challenge is they want me to be on a horse. They want me to ride a horse. Do you see the relationship building here, though, where we talk and laugh and figure out what it means for the chaplain to get on a horse? We are offering Bible study every Thursday. What's interesting is initially we did this in person, but now we're doing, I think they call it a hybrid. We're doing a hybrid, both online as well as for students online, faculty online, as well as students. A prayer time. We also are working on Sarah's Cupboard. Sarah's Cupboard, as you probably know, is the source where students, faculty, so on can get emergency food. One of the things that really touched me, and I had to work really hard on at the church that I served, was food insecurity in Franklin County. Past 2 years, the price of food as well as the need for food has increased massively. So it was important to me once I learned about Sarah's Cupboard that I would get it open. I did get it open within a week and a half. I analyzed the food that we have. I analyzed the policies and procedures and then opened it. What I'm doing now is, number one, continuing to analyze policies, procedures, and the food that we have, as well as recruiting volunteers so that we can open it more. I think Sarah's Cupboard is a very, very important part of our ministry here at Wilson College. It's important for the students. So one of the things I'm doing is making sure it's open, it's available for students. I'm also working with our grants office to look into the possibility of a grant from the state of Pennsylvania for Sarah's Cupboard. That grant, I think, will be due in September. Governor Shapiro put his budget together and proposed it to the state legislative branch. So we'll see what happens, but that's important. I am holding honored Wilson events. These are things that people remember. These are things that are legend here at Wilson. The first, of course, is the blessing of the animals. It got to the point basically where people were saying, "Hi, you're the new chaplain. When are we having the blessing of the animals?" It was funny. I am planning to have it in the spring. I know traditionally it has been in the fall, but I'd like to get it done, especially for our seniors who are graduating and may or may not have experienced a blessing of the animals. So I'm looking possibly to the end of March for a blessing of the animals. Then another one in the traditional time, which is approximately October 5th and October 6th. But to me, it's a time-honored tradition. The students love it. People love it. I love animals. So I think it's something that we need to do. The second, of course, is baccalaureate. Working with the graduation team about the baccalaureate service coming up, as well as Vespers. Again, the soft landing spot, relationships, learning about the students, making sure Sarah's Cupboard is open and effective, as well as time-honored traditions like the blessing of the animals. Let me talk a little bit about the changing runway. I think the first part of the changing runway, which needs to be figured out and built upon, is the online community. Wilson is blessed, and I'm excited with this, with my computer background, at having so many students who are online. Great. I love it. My question, friends, what about my role with the online community? Yes, we can have an online Bible study. We can have an online prayer time. I don't think we can do an online blessing of the animals, but maybe we can. But what about the student that needs pastoral care? What about the student that wants to talk that can't just come by my office and stop by? How do I develop relationships with somebody who, say, is in Ohio? How do I do that? Second thing that I'm aware of, and it's a challenge all over the church, is what I call, and what literature is calling, the rise of the nuns. N-O-N-E-S, not N-U-N-S, N-O-N-E-S. These are people that when they fill out, say, an intake form at a hospital, when it says religious affiliation, not Presbyterian, Catholic, whatever, not even Jewish, Buddhist, whatever, they just put none. We estimate that 20 to 30% of the population in the United States are nuns. Okay, what does that look like as the chaplain of Wilson College? Because I want to support our students and our faculty and our staff. What does that look like? One of the things that I'm doing is I'm working with, and I'm going to try not to give you some Presbyterian alphabet soup. First of all, I'm working with an organization called the APCU, the Association of Presbyterian Colleges and Universities. I think President Fugate is very involved with that. In that association, I'm meeting people and learning from people what they're dealing with at their particular college and university. The second thing that I'm working with, the second organization, is the PCCA, Presbyterian College Chaplains Association. I am honored and grateful for a chaplain that I'm going to talk to every month. This chaplain has been in college chaplaincy for over 20 years, has an incredible experience and incredible understanding of what we're dealing with. So I'm looking forward to learning from her, engaging with her, and bringing ideas that we've collaborated on to Wilson College. Also, how can we strengthen Sarah's cover to make it more effective, reduce the stigma of food insecurity, and make sure our students and whoever needs it receive the food they need. I'm also building relationships with service projects. One of the things that I really believe is your life has changed when you actually do a service project. I was honored to go to Zambia, which is a country in Africa, and work in an orphanage for 2 weeks. Well, 3 weeks, actually. It changed my life. It was an unbelievable experience. I could read about Zambia, but being there is another thing. I'm currently in discussions with Habitat for Humanity. I have some friends in Habitat for Humanity. The purpose is, let's get people from Wilson involved. Let's get them nailing. Let's get them putting siding on, whatever. One of the things I'll always remember when I was in South Carolina, when I was doing some chaplaincy work at University of South Carolina, we went to a Habitat home. I was putting up the siding, and probably I don't know if it's still in existence, but it may be the only house in the state of South Carolina or Columbia that has siding that's a little bit off. But anyway, this child came up to me, I'd say about 7 or 8. How you doing? What's going on? Want to help? And he looked at me and he said, Mr. Hart, this is my home. I'm going to live here. Thank you for helping. Can I help build my house? I still get choked up about it because it was just an incredible experience working with somebody, changing lives. And that's exactly what I'd like to do with people here at Wilson. So again, my goal is to provide a safe landing spot on a changing runway, figuring out what the runway looks like when it's changing, how we can develop for the changing runway, and make sure people associated with Wilson have a safe landing spot. One of the things I believe strongly in the power of prayer. Please pray. Pray for Wilson College. Pray for the students. Pray for the staff. Pray for the faculty. I think that's really important. I thank you for your overall giving. I thank you so much for that, because that's helping my department as well. One of the things I'm currently doing is I'm assessing the needs in different places like Sarah's Cupboard and others. Three Musketeers bars always help. I'm kidding, of course. But I'm in the process of assessing what exactly we need. And I'm working with students asking, do we have the food that you need? What food don't we have? So I'm sure that the alumni office can be in contact with me. You can contact the alumni office. They can contact with me. I can contact them and let them know what we need as we move on. One of the things I forgot, and I apologize, going back to the safe landing spot in the ecumenical prayer chapel, what we've done is, or what I've done is I have a prayer box. And I'm encouraging, let me see if I can get this into the camera. I'm encouraging students to fill out a prayer card. And I pray for them, the prayer cards, every day. And I conclude all of my communications. And this is what I'm going to include my half an hour spiel to you about with the following statement. Thank you for what you're doing for Wilson College. And know that I'm praying for you. All right, Andrea, thanks.
Thank you. You can let them know I'm sitting here right behind you in my.
Oh, okay. I was like, where is that sound coming from?
We don't, I think you must have covered everything. We don't have any questions. If you want to remind everybody if they want to throw a question in the chat. But Faye Wilson wanted to let you know that she loves the lizard thicket.
Oh, yes.
So children live in South Carolina.
Yes. So my friend taught international relations. I taught comparative politics.
Did you say what?
You know what lizard thicket is? I'll take it to call me sometime. Lizard's Thicket is a restaurant in, I think it's in all over South Carolina, but there's one in Columbia near the Capitol. And we used to go there at like dark early and get a whole bunch of like eggs and grits. And we'd split a gallon of sweet tea. Now, y'all, let me tell you what sweet tea is in Lizard's Thicket. For every gallon of tea at Lizard's Thicket, there would be 2 cups of sugar and 1 cup of sweet and low. Now, imagine how you would feel as a student when your professor, having had said sweet tea, half a gallon, walks into the class at 0800 in the morning. It was interesting. I don't know how it is now, but I would recommend here in Columbia.
It's still sweet enough to give you a headache.
Okay. All right. Now you're making me want sweet tea, Faye. I really would like some.
Well, and thank you for the presentation. I just wanted to introduce myself. I am a member of the Alumni Association board and a member of the Connections Committee with the specific assignment to connect with you for Sarah's cover. So anything that I can do, I have some materials where we've listed requests that were given to us in the past, and we share it, with members, all over. But if, again, like I said, if that needs updating, please, make sure that we do that. One of the things that the Alumni Association would provide were gift cards to Giant, like, the grocery store. And so we need to know if that's something that is still worthy and needed. And I too am very, very, very mindful of the issues of food security. So, in fact, I found out about Lizard Thicket in 1997.
Wow.
Because I don't know if you know that the national organization, the Super Bowl of Caring,
Yep.
Was founded in Columbia University. And at the time I was working for the United Methodist Church's national office. And so I was assigned as a member of their board. And so that was one of the first places when we had our first board meeting, they took us all there. And I have the memory of a woman, she was a Roman Catholic nun. their habits were all white, and she sat there and ate barbecue and never got a drop of anything on her habit. I was so impressed. I was like, oh my goodness. I said, Sister Ann, teach me how to do that.
That is
Yep.
amazing because if I wear white, it's almost like a magnet. It attracts food. I don't understand what it is. Getting back to the gift cards, I actually have a meeting next week with the business office to find out exactly where we are with that. So thank you for mentioning that.
Do you want to let everybody know how they can get a hold of you if they were to have a question?
Yeah, if you would like to get in touch with me, my email address is Andrew, ANDREW, .Hart, HART, Andrew, ANDREW .HART at wilson.edu.
I'll step over here back in view. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yes.
Can I conclude in prayer?
Oh, welcome.
Absolutely.
Welcome.
Yeah.
I'd like to conclude in prayer. So let's pray. Gracious Lord, we thank you so much for this day. I thank you for all of these alumni and I thank you for Wilson College. We just ask for your blessing upon Wilson College, the students, the faculty, the alumni, and the staff. We just pray that a feeling of a safe landing spot will be felt here and all across the country where students and alumni and staff and faculty may be, especially when the runway is changing. Amen.